Kim Doyen pushed his cleaning cart down the empty corridor of the Archive Eternal. The massive museum ship floated silently through space, and at 3 a.m, he was one of the few people awake. His footsteps echoed against the polished floors as he moved from display case to display case, wiping away dust that had accumulated during the day. He had been working here for 6 years now. It was simple work, honest work, and it kept him far away from the responsibilities that had once haunted him. After what happened during his military service, Doyen preferred being alone with artifacts that could not judge him or die because of his decisions. The other alien species who worked on the ship barely noticed him. Humans were considered average at everything. Not strong like the Kravathi, not intelligent like the Velkathi, not psychic like the Lycerans. Just adequate, and that suited Doyen perfectly. Being unremarkable meant being safe. He reached the end of the corridor and stopped at a heavy reinforced door. Warning symbols covered it in 15 different languages, all saying the same thing. Forbidden Vault. Dangerous artifacts inside. No unauthorized entry. Doyen was not authorized to enter, but he was required to check the external monitors. He pressed a button on the wall panel and watched the readings appear. 12 containment fields inside, all holding the most dangerous weapons ever created. Everything looked normal. Temperature stable. Security systems active. Containment fields operating at full strength. Then he noticed something. Field 7 flickered. Just a tiny pulse of yellow light instead of the usual steady green. Doyen frowned. That field contained the Carthraxis, an ancient blade that had killed every warrior who ever touched it. For 3,000 years, the weapon had rejected everyone. The story said it was waiting for someone worthy, but Doyen did not believe in destiny. He believed in maintenance and safety protocols. The field flickered again, this time turning orange. That was not good. He activated his communicator. Control, this is Maintenance 7. I have a containment fluctuation in Vault 7. Might need a technical team. A bored voice responded. Check it yourself. Do not bother me unless it is critical. Doyen sighed. He typed his access code into the door panel. The heavy locks disengaged with loud metallic sounds, and the door slowly opened. The Forbidden Vault was a large circular room. 12 pedestals stood around the edges, each one holding an artifact wrapped in shimmering energy fields. In the center of the room, raised above the others, hung the blade called Carthraxis. Even from across the room, Doyen could feel something strange about it. The weapon seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 2 meters of dark metal with a handle wrapped in ancient material. Strange symbols covered its surface, writing from a civilization that vanished 50,000 years ago. The containment field around it pulsed red. Very not good. Doyen approached carefully and knelt beside the pedestal. He opened a maintenance panel underneath and pulled out his diagnostic scanner. The power systems looked fine. The cooling unit was working. The emitter array was properly aligned. Everything appeared normal, but the scanner showed an error message. Catastrophic harmonic interference. What is interfering with you? Doyen muttered to himself. The containment field collapsed. There was no warning, no gradual failure. One moment the energy barrier existed, and the next moment it simply disappeared. The blade fell. Doyen's old military training took over. His body moved before his brain could process what was happening. His hand shot upward and caught the weapon by its handle. The blade should have been impossibly heavy. Ancient metal that then should have weighed 40 kilograms or more. But in Doyen's grip, it felt light, perfectly balanced, like it was made specifically for his hand. Warmth spread from his palm up his arm. It was not painful, just present, like the weapon was alive and acknowledging him. Then the symbols on the blade began to glow. Golden light erupted from each marking, so bright that Doyen had to squint. The light traveled from the tip down to the handle, igniting every symbol in sequence. The entire weapon blazed like captured sunlight. The light changed, reshaping itself into letters, not the angular ancient script, but modern galactic standard that anyone could read. One word formed in golden fire along the blade's length. King. Doyen stared at it in horror. His hand would not release the handle. Or perhaps the handle would not release his hand. He tried to let go, but his fingers remained locked in place. No, he whispered. This is wrong. I am just a janitor. I am nobody. This is a mistake. Every alarm in the vault activated at once. Sirens screamed. Red emergency lights flooded the room. Automated defense systems powered up with threatening sounds. Throughout the entire ship, he could hear blast doors slamming shut. His communicator exploded with panicked voices shouting over each other. Words like containment breach and Carthraxis has been touched and activate emergency protocols filled his ears. The vault door burst open. Security guards in heavy armor rushed inside with weapons pointed at him. Behind them came Director Thelkarian, the 7-foot-tall alien who ran the museum. His 4 eyes were wide with shock and something that looked like fear. "Do not move," the director shouted. "Human, do not even breathe." Doyen stood perfectly still, one hand gripping the ancient blade, the other raised in surrender. "Sir, I can explain. The containment field failed. I caught it by reflex. I did not mean to touch it." "You caught it." The director's voice cracked with disbelief. Every warrior who touched that blade for 3,000 years died instantly. Their nervous systems burned from the inside. And you simply caught it. Doyen looked down at the weapon in his hand. The golden word still glowed on its surface. "King." "I am not dead," he said weakly. Director Thelkarian stared at the glowing symbols. His expression changed from shock to something darker, something like dread. "No," the director said quietly. "You're not dead. You are something much worse. You have awakened every weapon the architects ever made. And if the ancient legends are true, all of them are coming here now. To you." Doyen felt his stomach drop. "What have I done?" The director's voice carried the weight of ancient prophecy. "You have become the Janitor King, and the galaxy will never be the same." The weapons arrived like ghosts. They did not travel through normal space. They simply appeared, one after another, materializing around the Archive Eternal, as if they had always been there. The first came 3 hours after Doyen touched the blade. It was a spear, 15 meters long and black as empty space. The ship's sensors detected it suddenly floating 3,000 kilometers away. Then, in the blink of an eye, it moved closer. It phased to the hull like passing through mist and entered the room where Doyen sat in a transparent containment cell. The spear hovered before him for a moment. Then, slowly and deliberately, it rotated until its point faced downward. It bowed like a knight before a king. After 3 seconds, it settled on the floor beside the Carthraxis, waiting silently. Dr. Lee Shariva, a moth-like alien researcher, pressed her face against the observation window. Her compound eyes reflected rainbow colors as she trembled with excitement. "That is a spear of endless night," she whispered. "It was forged to kill stars. The Corvexian Empire guarded it for 8,000 years. And it just came to you." Doyen sat inside his cell, still unable to release the blade in his hand. "I do not want it. Can you send it back?" "I do not think it works that way." She was right. Over the next 3 days, more weapons came. Swords that cut through dimensions. Hammers that could shatter planets. Chains that once bound a creature the size of a moon. Shields that reflected any attack. Crowns that promised power beyond imagination. Each weapon appeared, acknowledged Doyen with some gesture of respect, and joined the growing collection floating around the Archive Eternal. By the end of the first day, there were 50 weapons. By the end of the second day, 140. By the third day, 209 legendary artifacts surrounded the ship, each one capable of destroying civilizations. Director Thelkarian called an emergency meeting in the main conference hall. Doyen attended, still trapped with Carthrax's fused to his hand. Security guards surrounded him, though everyone knew the weapons would protect him if needed. "This situation is unsustainable," the director announced. His 4 eyes looked exhausted. "The gravitational stress from so many powerful artifacts is affecting the ship's systems. If more arrive, the hull might rupture." "How many more are coming?" asked Commander Bakhtagine, the grizzled head of security. Dr. Shariva checked her research files. According to architect records, they created 347 legendary weapons. We have identified 209 so far. So, 138 more. Taejin rubbed his face. We will be torn apart. Dr. Park Jae-woo, the only other human on the ship, sat beside Doyen and monitored his vital signs with medical scanner. His neural activity is increasing. The connection between him and the weapons is getting stronger. Doyen could feel it too. Each weapon had its own presence in his mind, like voices whispering just below hearing. The spear of endless night felt hungry for battle. The chains of binding wanted to protect. The mirror shield sought truth. They were not just objects. They were aware, conscious, waiting for something. Before anyone could speak further, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic display in the center of the room showed an incoming transmission from the Galactic Council. 12 alien faces appeared, representing the major civilizations. At the center sat Chancellor Vorn, whose crystalline body chimed when he spoke. Asterisk Archive Eternal Asterisk, you are harboring a threat to galactic security. Surrender the human immediately. Director Thelkarian straightened. On what authority? The human has unlawfully claimed architect technology. He endangers every inhabited system. We demand. An explosion rocked the ship. The transmission cut off. Red emergency lights flooded the conference hall. Hull breach on Deck 7. Commander Taejin shouted into his communicator. We are under attack. Who? Thelkarian demanded. Blade Singers, sir. 3 ships. They are attempting to board. Doyen stood, and Carthraxis moved with him. Who are the Blade Singers? Dr. Shiva's wings fluttered nervously. A warrior cult. They believe only pure-blooded fighters should wield the architect weapons. To them, you are a false prophet who must die. Another explosion shook the deck. Through the walls, they could hear weapons fire and screaming. They are cutting through our security teams, Taejin reported, his voice tense. 30 warriors in powered armor, each one trained in ancient combat. They are heading for this location. Doyen felt Carthraxis grow warm in his hand. The blade hummed, a vibration he felt in his bones. Around the ship, all 209 weapons began resonating in harmony. It was like an orchestra tuning before a performance. Something is happening, Jae-woo warned, watching her scanner. Doyen, your brain activity just spiked. The blade is doing something to you. Reality shifted in Doyen's perception. Suddenly, he could feel every weapon in the arsenal. 209 points of awareness bloomed in his mind, each one unique, each one powerful. And they were all asking the same question, not in words but in feeling. Will you command, king? I am not a king, Doyen said aloud. Then what are you? The question came from Carthraxis, from all the weapons, from something ancient and patient. The Blade Singers breached the conference hall doors. 30 warriors in heavy armor poured inside, weapons blazing. They cut through the security guards like shadows through light. Their leader, a 4-armed fighter named Corval, raised a plasma sword and charged directly at Doyen. Bak Taejin grabbed Doyen's shoulder. We need to evacuate you two. No, Doyen interrupted. Strange calm settled over him. They came for me. Running will only get more people killed. You are unarmed. Doyen looked at the ancient blade in his hand. Then he looked at the 209 legendary weapons floating in space around the ship, all connected to his mind. Not exactly. He did not know how he knew what to do. The knowledge simply flowed from Carthraxis into his thoughts. The blade had waited 3,000 years. It understood war. But Doyen was not a warrior anymore. He had left that life after watching his team die because of his orders. He would not become a killer again. I will not kill them, he told the blade. Then what will you do? The question held curiosity, not judgment. Stop them. Protect people. That is what janitors do, right? We clean up messes. The blade seemed to laugh, not with sound, but with feeling. Amusement and approval rippled through their connection. Show me, king. Corval swung his plasma sword at Doyen's head. Doyen moved without thinking. His body remembered old training, but Carthraxis added something more. Grace, precision, perfect efficiency. The ancient blade deflected the plasma weapon easily. It twisted and caught 2 more attackers' weapons simultaneously. Doyen did not cut or stab. He only redirected, using their momentum against them. The spear of endless night flew from its position and swept through the room, knocking warriors off their feet without piercing them. The chains of binding erupted from the floor and wrapped around attackers, holding them immobile but unharmed. The ship called Dreadnought of Vengeance emerged from hyperspace like a predator revealing itself. It was not just one vessel. It was an entire fleet. Hundreds of warships arranged around a central command ship the size of a small moon. Every sensor on the archive Eternal screamed warnings. Commander Baktagine barked orders into his communicator. All civilians to escape pods. Move, move, move. He turned to Doyen. We need to evacuate you too. No, Doyen said quietly. He stood at the observation window, watching the fleet approach. Running will not help. He came for me. Dr. Park Jaiwoo refused to leave his side. She held her medical scanner with white knuckles. Then I stayed too. Someone needs to monitor your connection to the weapons. Jaiwoo, this is not safe. Neither is being a janitor who accidentally became a king. She managed a weak smile. We are both in ridiculous situations now. A holographic projection flickered to life in the center of the room. It showed a figure in ancient armor, face hidden behind a reflective silver mask. When he spoke, his voice was surprisingly soft, almost gentle. Kim Doyen, I am Vexanar. 500 years ago, I touched the Carthraxis, just as you did. Doyen felt the blade grow cold in his hand. What happened? It rejected me. The blade burned me from the inside. My nerves screamed for 3 years before I learned to control the pain. Vexanar's mask tilted slightly. The weapon deemed me unworthy. But you? A janitor? That is who the architects chose. I did not ask to be chosen. Neither did I. For the first time, anger crept into Vexanar's voice. But I spent 5 centuries preparing for another chance. I studied architect technology. I built an army. I conquered systems. And you think catching a falling sword makes you worthy? Through his connection with Carthraxis, Doyen sensed something. The blade had tested Vexanar 500 years ago and found him lacking, not because he was weak or evil, but because of pride. The weapons did not want masters. They wanted partners. The weapons are not prizes, Doyen said carefully. They are responsibilities. The architects did not make them for conquest. Then why make weapons at all? Vexanar challenged. I do not know yet, but I know you cannot have them. The hologram flickered with dark amusement. So, the janitor will fight me? You, who ran from military service after one failed mission. You, who hides in maintenance corridors to avoid responsibility. The words hit Doyen like physical blows. Vexanar had researched him thoroughly. Everyone would know about Proxima Station now. The mission where his team died. The reason he became a janitor. Yes, Doyen said quietly. I will fight you. Then you will die a janitor. The hologram vanished. Vexanar's fleet opened fire. Hundreds of plasma beams and missiles converged on the Archive Eternal. The ship should have been destroyed in seconds. But the weapons moved faster than thought. The mirror shield expanded to enormous size, reflecting energy weapons back toward their sources. The chains of binding lashed out like living things, grabbing missiles and throwing them into empty space. The spear of endless night became a blur, intercepting projectiles with impossible precision. Doyen stood at the center of it all, Carthraxis warm in his hand, conducting an orchestra of ancient power. He did not command the weapons. He suggested. He asked. He partnered. And they responded with something like joy. They had waited 50,000 years for someone who understood. But Vexanar's fleet was massive. For every shot the weapons blocked, 3 more came. The defense could not last forever. We need a plan, Baktagine said, watching the tactical display. We are only defending. Eventually they will overwhelm us. Doyen knew Taejin was right. But attacking meant using the weapons to kill. It meant becoming exactly what he had run from 8 years ago. Carthraxis pulsed with warmth, not demanding, questioning. Asterisk, what is a king if not a protector? And what is protection if not stopping those who would harm innocents? Asterisk. I will not massacre them, Doyen said aloud. Asterisk, then do not. But you must act, or people will die. Asterisk. Dr. Shariva suddenly gasped, her wings fluttering frantically. I just translated more architect text. The weapons were not made to fight each other. They were made to fight together, as one unified force. Against what? Something called the Silence, a threat from beyond the galaxy. Her compound eyes widened, and when all the weapons unite, they are supposed to summon something, or someone. Outside the window, Vexinar's dreadnought broke formation. The massive ship accelerated, charging directly at the Archive Eternal. He is going to ram us, Teijin shouted. At that mass and velocity, we will be destroyed. Doyen closed his eyes. He reached out through his connection to all 209 weapons that had arrived. I need you, all of you. Please help me. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The weapons moved as one, forming a massive geometric pattern around the ship, a three-dimensional design of incredible complexity and beauty. Energy flowed between them. Connection, resonance, unity. At the center, Carthrax's blaze of golden light, so bright that everyone had to shield their eyes. Doyen felt reality shift. Space twisted. Time stuttered. The weapons were not just tools. They were keys. And together, they opened a door to somewhere else. A presence filled the observation deck. Ancient, vast, patient beyond understanding. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Asterisk, well done, Janitor King. You have passed the first test. Asterisk. First test. Doyen struggled to remain conscious under the weight of that presence. How many tests are there? Asterisk, only one that matters. Will you serve, or will you rule? Asterisk. I do not want to rule. Asterisk, we know. That is why you were chosen. Asterisk, the presence turned its attention toward Vexinar's approaching ship. Asterisk, but your enemy does. He seeks power, control, dominion. These are opposite to the weapon's true purpose. Asterisk. Then help me stop him. Asterisk, we cannot. We are only memory now. The architects who made these weapons are long dead, but their purpose remains, to protect this galaxy from the Silence when it returns. Asterisk. Returns from where? Asterisk, from the spaces between stars, from the darkness where light dies. It comes, Janitor King, and you must be ready. Asterisk. The presence began to fade. Wait! What should I do? The final words echoed in Doyen's mind. Asterisk, a true king does not command his weapons. He served alongside them. Asterisk. Then the architects were gone. Vexinar's dreadnought was seconds from impact. Doyen could see boarding craft launching. Enemy warriors preparing to storm the ship. This was the moment of choice. He looked at Jaiwu. Whatever happens next, I am sorry. For what? For not being able to stay ordinary. Doyen raised Carthrax's high. He did not command. He requested, like asking friend for help. Will you stand with me? 347 weapons, for the rest had arrived during the confrontation, answered as one voice in his mind. Always. They moved together, united in purpose, and the False King's fleet learned what it meant to face the Guardian of the Arsenal. The weapons moved like dancers in perfect harmony. The chains of binding shot forward, wrapping around Vexinar's enormous dreadnought like metal snakes. The massive ship lurched to a stop just meters from the Archive Eternal's hull. The mirror shield expanded between the two vessels, absorbing all the kinetic energy from the sudden halt. The spear of endless night flew, like a black arrow. It pierced through the dreadnought's engine core with surgical precision, not destroying, just disabling. The massive ship went dark, its power systems offline but intact. In 30 seconds, the False King's flagship was completely immobilized. But Vexinar was not finished. The dreadnought's hull split open like a flower blooming. The False King emerged, but he was no longer just a warrior in armor. 500 years of obsession had changed him into something else. His body was half organic tissue, half architect technology. Cables and circuits merged with muscle and bone. His armor pulsed with stolen power that crackled around him like lightning. He flew through the vacuum of space without protection, landing on the Archive Eternal's outer hull with enough force to dent the reinforced plating. You think you have won? Vexanar's voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. I have studied the architects longer than your entire species has traveled the stars. I know their secrets. I know their power. And I know how to take it from you. He thrust his mechanical hands into the hull. Corrupted energy spread through the ship's systems like poison in veins, seeking Doyen's location. He is trying to hack the weapons, Dr. Lee Shariva warned, her wings trembling. His technology is based on architect designs. If he can break your connection to them. Doyen felt it. Vexanars were pressing against his bond with Carthraxis, not attacking directly, but infiltrating like a virus. The False King had spent 5 centuries learning the weapons' language. He could not claim them through force, but he might steal them through deception. Everyone evacuate to the escape pods, Doyen ordered. This fight is not something you can help with. Doyen, Jai was started. Please. I cannot focus if I am worried about you getting hurt. She looked into his eyes, understood what he was not saying, and nodded. Do not die, Kim Doyen. I will try my best. Commander Bakhtagian evacuated everyone except Dr. Shariva, who refused to leave her research station. Someone must document this. For history. Or for my funeral, Doyen muttered. The observation deck shuddered as Vexanar tore through layers of hull plating. He entered the room like a storm given physical form. His corrupted architect armor sparked with chaotic energy. Finally, he said, face to face with the janitor who stole my destiny. Doyen raised Carthraxis. I did not steal anything. The blade chose me. Because you were weak, unthreatening, a servant, not a ruler. Vexanar's voice rose to a scream. But I will show the architects what real power looks like. I will show them what a true king can accomplish. He attacked with blinding speed. 500 years of combat training flowed through his enhanced body. His corrupted weapons, twisted imitations of architect designs, struck like lightning bolts. Doyen barely defended himself. Carthraxis moved on instinct, but Vexanar was faster, stronger, and far more experienced. Within seconds, Doyen was bleeding from a dozen cuts across his arms and chest. You see, Vexanar pressed his advantage. You are just a man, a failed soldier playing janitor. You have no right to those weapons. He was correct. Doyen had no advanced training. He had spent 8 years avoiding responsibility, hiding in maintenance work, because it was safe and simple. But those 8 years had taught him something Vexanar never learned. Humility. Doyen stopped trying to match Vexanar's strength. Instead, he did what he had done every day for 8 years. He adapted. He found the efficient solution. He cleaned up the mess. Carthraxis was not just a weapon. It was a tool. And Doyen had always been good with tools. He changed his grip, using the blade to redirect attacks instead of blocking them. When Vexanar's strikes came, they slid past harmlessly. When the False King overextended his reach, Doyen simply stepped aside. Fight me properly. Vexanar roared in frustration. Why? Doyen asked calmly. You are already fighting yourself. It was true. 5 centuries of obsession had made Vexanar rigid and predictable. He fought the way he believed a king should fight, with overwhelming force and dominance. But the weapons did not respect dominance. They respected partnership. Doyen reached out through his connection, not commanding, but asking. He is trying to steal you from me. What do you want to do about it? The weapons responded with cold fury. The chains of binding erupted from the floor, wrapping around Vexanar's mechanical limbs. The mirror shield appeared, showing the False King his own reflection. 500 years of rage and bitterness staring back at him. Vexanar screamed and released his corrupted power. The energy toward the weapons, trying to dominate them through raw force. And in that moment, Doyen understood the final lesson. You cannot take them, he said quietly, because you are trying to make them serve you. But that is not what they want. What do they want? Vexanar snarled. Partnership, respect, the same things everyone wants. Doyen lowered Carthraxis. Vexenar, you spent 500 years preparing for this moment, but you prepared for the wrong thing. I prepared to claim my destiny. No, you prepared for revenge. Against the blade that rejected you. Against the architects who judge you unworthy. You're not fighting me. You're fighting your own pride. Carthrax's pulsed warmth in Doyen's hand. Suddenly he understood why the blade rejected Vexenar 5 centuries ago. Not because he was weak or evil, but because he could not see beyond himself. The architects did not want a king to rule, Doyen continued. They wanted a protector, someone who would serve the weapon's purpose, not use them for personal glory. And what is their purpose? Vexenar demanded. I do not fully know yet, but it is not conquest. It is not revenge. It is protection. For just a moment, something shifted in Vexenar's corrupted energy. Doubt? Regret? Recognition? But 5 centuries of obsession could not be healed in seconds. If I cannot have them, the false king said coldly, then no one will. He detonated his corrupted technology. The explosion should have destroyed the entire observation deck, vaporizing everyone within a kilometer radius. But Carthraxis moved faster than thought. Reality shifted around Doyen. He found himself in a space between spaces, where the weapons existed in their pure form. 347 points of brilliant light. The false king chose destruction over acceptance. The weapons spoke as one. What do you choose, Janitor King? Doyen thought of Vexenar. 5 centuries of pain ending in self-destruction. He thought of the Blade singers who attacked out of misguided faith. He thought of all the warriors throughout history who died trying to claim these weapons. I choose to serve, he said simply. Whatever your purpose is, I will help fulfill it. Not because I want power, but because it is right. The weapons pulsed with warmth and something else. Relief. 3 months had passed since the battle with Vexenar. Kim Doyen stood in the Forbidden Vault, which had been completely rebuilt. The room was larger now, designed specifically to house the 347 legendary weapons in comfort and dignity. Dr. Lee Shariva had spent weeks planning every detail, treating the artifacts not as museum pieces but as honored guests. Doyen still wore his maintenance uniform. His job title had not officially changed, though his responsibilities certainly had. He checked the environmental controls, inspected the containment fields, and ran diagnostics on the power systems. Old habits never died. Director Thelkarian entered the vault, his 4 eyes showing exhaustion mixed with satisfaction. The Galactic Council has finally agreed to your terms. You will be recognized as an independent sovereign entity, the guardian of the arsenal. That sounds very formal, Doyen said, wiping dust from a display panel. It is formal. You will have diplomatic immunity, access to council meetings, and command of a new guardian fleet to protect the weapons. Thelkarian paused. And you will continue living on this ship. Where else would I go? Someone needs to maintain these weapons properly. They deserve respect, not neglect. The director's mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. When I hired you 6 years ago, I thought you were running from something. I still am, in some ways. And now, Doyen looked at Carthraxis, resting peacefully on its pedestal. He could summon it instantly if needed, but for now it deserved rest. Now I am running towards something instead. Whatever the silence is, when it comes, these weapons need to be ready. And someone needs to make sure they are maintained, understood, and respected. The Janitor King, Thelkarian said thoughtfully. The galaxy still does not understand how a maintenance worker became its most powerful protector. They are thinking about it wrong. I did not become powerful. I became responsible. There is a difference. Dr. Park Jaiwu entered carrying her medical scanner. Over the past 3 months, she had become Doyen's closest friend and confidant. Your neural patterns have stabilized completely. The connection with the weapons is permanent. But it does not control you. You are still yourself. Is that good or bad? Very good, she said firmly. The galaxy does not need another warrior king obsessed with power. It needs someone who remembers what being ordinary feels like. Commander Baktagine arrived with a group of young recruits. Guardian, the new fleet personnel have arrived for orientation. They want to meet you. Doyen sighed. He still felt uncomfortable with titles like Guardian or people standing at attention when he walked by, but he had accepted the responsibility that came with the weapons. Tell them to meet in Base 7 in 1 hour. And Teijin, stop calling me Guardian. My name is Doyen. Yes, sir, yes, Doyen. Dr. Shariva fluttered and laughed, her compound eyes bright with excitement. I finished translating the complete Architect archives. You must see this immediately. She activated a holographic projection. Ancient text flowed across the air, transforming into modern language. Asterisk to whoever reads this. We are the architects, and we have failed. The silence came from beyond the void, and we could not stop it. We built weapons of incredible power, but power alone was insufficient. The silence does not fight, it consumes. It erases. It ends everything it touches. Asterisk. Asterisk, we fled to the spaces between stars, buying time for the younger races. But we know it will return. So we leave behind our greatest creations, not weapons of destruction, but weapons of protection. And we leave behind a test. Asterisk. Asterisk, whoever can unite the weapons without seeking to rule them, whoever can wield power without being corrupted, that individual will become the guardian, the king of weapons, the final defense against the silence. Asterisk. Asterisk, we do not know when the silence will return. Perhaps centuries, perhaps millennia. But when it does, the guardian must stand ready. Asterisk. And they will not stand alone. The hologram shifted, showing 347 points of light arranged around a single human figure. Beyond them, in the darkness between stars, something vast and hungry stirred. The silence. Doyen felt cold fear settle in his stomach. When is it coming? According to the architect's calculations, approximately 200 years from now. 200 years? Doyen exhaled in relief. That gives us time to prepare at least. For the galaxy, yes. For you? Shariva hesitated, her wings going still. Doyen, the weapons bound themselves to your life force when you accepted guardianship. You are not immortal exactly, but your aging has stopped. You will live to face the silence. The implications crashed over him like a wave. 200 years. Watching everyone he knew grow old and die. Preparing alone for a threat no one else would survive to see. An entire lifetime spent waiting for darkness. Jaiwu touched his arm gently. You will not be alone. The Guardian fleet will continue across generations. People will train to help you, and the weapons will always be with you. Lucky me, Doyen muttered, but he managed a small smile despite everything. 6 months later, the Archive Eternal had been redesignated as Guardian Station. The museum continued its work, but with a new mission, training people to understand the architect weapons without trying to wield them for personal gain. Doyen walked his old maintenance routes each day. The Spear of Endless Night followed him like a loyal pet. He had named it Changsu, which meant long life in Korean. The irony was not lost on him. He found Jaiwu in the medical bay, reviewing research data. How is the work going? He asked. Fascinating. Your cells are definitely modified, but you are still completely human. Just a very long-lived human now. Great. 200 years of filing reports and checking systems. Jaiwu laughed. Most people will be excited about extended life. Most people do not have to spend it preparing for an existential threat to the galaxy. He sat down heavily. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Do you regret it? Everything that happened? Sometimes I wish I had just let that blade fall. Jaiwu was quiet for a moment. Do you regret it? Doyen thought about his quiet life before. Cleaning corridors, avoiding responsibility, hiding from his past. Then he thought about what he had become. Protector of weapons that could reshape reality. Guardian against a threat 50,000 years in the making. Every single day, he admitted. And not at all. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Commander Teijin's voice came through the communicator. Doyen, we have a distress call from the Outer Rim. Pirates attacking a civilian transport. They are requesting assistance. Doyen stood and stretched. Acknowledged. I am on my way. Jaiwu smiled. Still cleaning up messes? Always. He paused at the door. Want to come? Someone should document the Janitor King in action. I would not miss it. Later that evening, Dorian stood alone in the Guardian Command Center. All 347 weapons could manifest here when needed. Currently, only Carthraxis hovered before him, its runes glowing softly. You know, he said to the blade, I still think you chose wrong. I am nobody special. The end.